Hi, welcome back to my channel, and this is the sound off on Toya and Reginae. So I really wanted to do this show episode by episode. I was so excited when it was coming back, and then life happened. And I was not able to. And when I tell you, I was like still taking notes, like I'm just gonna do it and try to catch up. And that just didn't happen. I had the thumbnails ready and everything. I really was excited about season 2. And I mean, even though I was watching it, I wasn't able to do sound offs. I really enjoyed the season. So I guess we're not even gonna call this so much a sound off. This is a wrap up, okay? This is a wrap up of season 2. And I just could not let the moment pass without saying my 2 cents, because baby, I got a lot, okay? I had notes. I got a lot to say. So let's get into it. Okay, so Toya Johnson Russian, she's one of the girls that I really do like. I really like Toya. I've been following Toya for a long time. You know, most of us met her when she was doing the show Tiny and Toya, and we just followed her since then. And I really do like her. Okay, I don't agree with every single thing. Y'all know when her and K Michelle was doing their little situation, when they was beefing, that was a very uncomfortable time for me, you know. I love K Michelle, but I love Toya too. I was more on K Michelle's side, but I never stopped loving Toya. Like, I love them both. And Toya to me is just like, she's an inspiring person, and I don't know if she even really knows that, but she's very inspiring. It's like that girl has been through so much. I'm saying that girl like she younger than me. But no. Like, Toya's been through a lot. She's been through a lot, and I think she's a very beautiful person. The way that she still has such love and kindness to show to the world after everything she's been through, it's just like seeing her win makes you happy. It inspires you to be like, okay, well, I could do this, I could do that. And people like that are very special. So we've been watching Toya since Tiny and Toya. Then she had her own show. Then she did Marriage Boot Camp. She did Growing Up Hip Hop. She had another show, I don't remember what that was called, but that was when her and that man were getting divorced and they were dividing the assets. She had that show. Then she also did T.I. and Tiny's Family and Friends Hustle. Now she has this show. So that's what, 7 different platforms that we've watched Toya on. And her story has been the same since day one. That she didn't really grow up in the household with her mom, dad, and her siblings. And it's something that she yearns for. That bond, that familiar bond, the love, the closeness that they have. She's always wanted to be in the midst of things, and she's always on the outside. Everyone is over here and she's over there. She has been expressing this desire to be close to her family since we met her. And it's so sad that here we are, and this is still going on. Now, before this season premiered, I think most of y'all probably seen it. If you didn't, well, get on the internet, it's there. Her older brother, Walter, flipped out. Like, I don't know exactly the specifics, but he got on, I don't know if it was Instagram, I don't know what he was on. He was on something, but I seen it was everywhere. And he was ranting. He was doing interviews. Like YouTube interviews. I seen a couple of them, and he was talking about his childhood and how he grew up and all the struggles. He was telling his side of the story, like of what has gone on with him. And I don't know what happened behind the scenes, but I'm guessing Toya expressed that she didn't like some of the things he was talking about, because at some point he mentioned that he had to get Wayne together at, you know, over Toya, and he mentioned a lot of things that I guess Toya didn't want him to be mentioning or to be speaking on because it was in the past. And he flipped out. If you ain't seen it, I don't know where you been. And it made me feel really bad. I really wasn't paying attention to nothing he had to say, because I feel like this happens. It's a pattern. It's been happening since we first met Toya and her family, and she introduced us to her family. These type of things will happen. They'll get along and then they won't. They get along and then they won't. It's triggering, I'm sure, for a lot of us, because if you have family drama, then you know this situation. You know how this goes. And I really wasn't bothered by nothing he said. I was just like, I knew this was coming. The moment he got out of jail, I was like, this is going to happen. I wasn't surprised. I wanted to address this first before I get into the season and the show. because I just feel it necessary. So that happened, right? Then in my real life, okay, there was a situation, someone I know. I wasn't close to this person, but it's someone I know in passing. I'm watching the news one day at my aunt's house, and they're talking about this young lady that was unalived by her brother. Her brother had gotten out of prison like a year and some change ago, and he was living with her because he had nowhere else to live. So he's living with his sister, and she has a 2-year-old. They got into some type of disagreement. He unalived his sister and his 2-year-old niece. When I was watching the news, I didn't even know that it was who it was, because the picture that they showed of her, I didn't recognize her until later on, from a friend of a friend of a friend. They was like, hey, that was so-and-so. I was like, oh my God. I was so disturbed by it. So when that happened, I immediately thought of Toya and Walter going off online, ranting and raving that I'm gonna come for all of y'all. I'm gonna come for you. Y'all don't want it with me. Y'all don't want it with me. And it was just like, dang, like, where does all this hostility come from? And you see how dangerous that can be, harboring those feelings about someone. It's like, it's scary, because we watched this entire season 2 of Toya and Reginae, and Walter has been getting along with Toya the entire time. I was waiting for the other shoe to drop, and he contained himself the entire time while they were filming. And then only for the show not even to be debuted, and we see you go off on social media. You didn't feel like that about Toya in the moment. He brought up stuff about when she was pregnant with Reginae. He brought up all types of stuff. So basically, you are harboring these emotions towards your sister, this anger, this aggression, but you smile in her face and you're getting along great with her as long as she's doing what you want her to do. But then the moment she makes you upset, you just unleash. I just felt like that's just a scary thing. Like, that's just like nothing to play with. And so I'm not gonna lie to y'all, watching this season of Toya and Reginae, that has been on my shoulder. Those things have been on my shoulder. So if I seem a little, matter of fact and emotionless when it comes to certain people on this show, you have to understand where I'm coming from. Because, yeah, it's scary. When it comes to Toya and her family, I really feel like they look at her as if she's a lick. I feel like they're constantly plotting on her to get stuff from her and to treat her a certain way. And it's like, it's not right. Don't nobody want to feel like that. Nobody wants to feel used and abused and thrown to the side. Nobody wants to feel that way. I guess we could start with Casey. So last season, right, it left off with Casey going off saying, he was raised in a trap house. He witnessed certain things growing up and it was unfair to him. And Toya and Beatty never had to live like that. So when they say something to him he don't like, he clicks out. And y'all also probably remember where he was at the table with them. I think they're having dinner, and he was like, Toya hasn't set up no shows for him. Toya ain't introducing him to the right people. They ain't sharing his music with Wayne. And if Wayne hears his music, he gonna like it. And the whole season, every time I'm watching them, I'm just like, who is Toya supposed to introduce you to, first of all? Let's start there. Is Toya supposed to introduce you to who? You're so erratic and unpredictable and volatile. Who is she supposed to introduce you to? Because if you try to carry that nonsense to any man, especially a man who has money and power and influence, they're going to handle you. Okay, they're going to handle you. You think that she's going to take you to Candy Bird's house and say, okay, let's do this. And she have all her team around you to try to help you create music, and then you click out on them? They're going to have to hire extra security for you. You think she's going to take you to T.I. and Tiny House to their studio so you can go cut up in their house or in their studio? T.I. always walking around with some people from Atlanta. You think they're not going to handle you? She's supposed to burn her bridges that she's made, her connections that she's made with people, so that you can go and cuss them out the way you cuss her out. Does that even make sense? When I tell you I've seen so many women in the comment sections on TikTok, on Instagram, wherever, I've seen so many people make excuses for Casey. I'm not exactly sure how old Casey is. I'm assuming he's like 34, 35. I think he's about that age. But I've seen so many people make excuses for that grown-ass man. It made me sick to my stomach. It really irritated me for real. They're like, oh, well, he's just misunderstood. He's just going through this. They're blaming Toya. They're saying, oh, she's the one with the issue. She's this way, that way. I'm not saying he got to kiss Toya's ass, because I don't believe in kissing ass, okay? I don't believe in kissing ass. I feel like if I'm listening to you, it's because I respect what you have to say. If I'm listening to you, it's because I value what you have to say. I don't believe in he needs to kiss her ass. But he wants her help. He wants her to treat him like he is her son. But he don't want to respect her. That doesn't, them two things don't go. They don't go. If you want her the benefits of being up under her, then you have to be respectful. You have to act accordingly. Because you could be grown over there and she be grown over here, and y'all could just, whatever. You want to utilize her in such a way, almost like a mother and a child type relationship, but you don't want to respect her as such. That doesn't make any sense. It just doesn't. He is traumatized. He is misunderstood. He is going through a lot. He is grieving. He is going through a lot. Absolutely. And do we want to see Casey do better? Absolutely. But that's not Toya's doing. Toya didn't do that to him. Toya did not create the issue. And why everybody feels like it should all be on Toya back, I don't get it. Yeah, that's her sister and she loved him. Absolutely. But the thing is, there are lots of big sisters that take care of their younger siblings. But guess what? There is respect in that equation. There is respect. If I'm going to take care of you like you are for me and I am for you, then we gotta be like this. You can't be cussing me out and saying horrible, mean stuff to me and expect me to still just do whatever you need me to do for you with a smile on my face. That doesn't work. There has to be some common decency. And he don't have that for Toya. And when they tell him he's entitled, it's like the worst thing in the world you could tell him, but it is the truth. When Casey told Red that he wanted an apology from Toya because he chose to drink too much during the parade and tried to ruin Toya's moment and put everybody's safety in jeopardy. And when Toya got upset with him for that, he feels as though Toya owes him an apology. I was like, whoa. I ain't gonna lie. The villain in the story has always been Walter, in my opinion. I told y'all I've been watching her since back in the day. Since what was that, 2007, 2006? I don't remember, but it was a long time ago. I've always thought that Walter was the villain. Clearly, he's not the only villain. Casey is something else. I think at least with Walter, Walter has enough sense to know that, like, sometimes you got to chill out. Sometimes you got to, he got enough sense to do that. Casey don't got none of that. Casey don't got no chill. And it's like, it's really simple to just be like, oh, well, he been through a lot. Everybody's been through a lot. Toya's been through her own. Beatty's been through her own. She don't speak a lot, but she's been through her own stuff. Everybody has been through something. I can relate to Casey with the whole anger issues and outbursts because, believe it or not, I'm a bit of a hothead myself. I feel like very proud of myself. I feel very proud of myself. I literally could write a letter to heaven and tell my mama that I have been keeping my temper in check, okay? And I started keeping my temper in check because I realized nobody owes me nothing. And nobody cares what you've been through. My responsibility is to contain my temper. I realize nobody cares about your bad day and nobody cares about you getting mad and yelling and puffing your chest. Nobody cares. It took the wind out of my sails. Like, you really realize, like, nobody cares. Nobody cares about your pain. Because if you can't care about the next person's pain, why should they care about yours? If you don't care about what somebody else went through, you want to dismiss them, why should they care about you? And it's looking like your sister and your niece are this close to not caring about nothing you got going on, and you're going to regret that. It might be a whole bunch of people on the internet telling Casey, oh my God, he just misunderstood. They need to do this, and they need to stop talking to him like that, and they need to stop doing this. Do you know them in real life? Can they support you in real life? If you have an issue, can you call them up? Are they going to show up to come save you? They're not. You sitting up there treating your sister bad and just acting the fool. Okay. You going to learn. I read a comment where somebody said that, oh, Reginae doesn't respect Casey. He's her uncle. I don't matter what goes on. She's supposed to respect her uncle. Her uncle isn't acting respectably. He's not being a respectable person. He's not carrying himself in that manner for her to respect him. He's behaving very childlike. He's behaving like someone who, like he don't have no good sense. He's not giving her anything to look at and say, I respect you. I respect that you did this. No, he's entitled, he's manipulative, he's mean, and he throws tantrums. What is there to respect? You have a son. He said his son was 13 or 12. One of the two. Don't matter. It's the same to me. You have a son. He's growing up. He's growing up without you. When he tried to tell the son, go ask your mama, can I keep you? I knew then, I was like, ooh, this is getting even crazy. And we was at the second episode. When I saw that little interaction, I said, uh-oh, what he done did to that? What is happened there? When they got in that therapy session and he's tried to say, oh, well, Toya don't consider how I feel. Like, she could go pick up my son, but I can't even see my son. Why can't you pick up your son? When Toya said, did you tell your therapist why you're not allowed to pick up your son? Did you tell her why? And she's like, why? And Toya says, when he first got out of prison, Gabby flew her son out. She brought her son out. He took the little boy out of town without letting the lady know, had him in the parking lot of a casino. So you probably was going to go back to jail that same day, messing with the right bitch. Because what? Because what? You've been in jail since what, 2014? You've been in jail a long time, sir. You've been in jail a long ass time. That lady has been taking care of her child. She's been supporting herself and her child. All her 13 years of hard work, you want to come and dismantle it because you want to puff up your chest and say you somebody's father. You need to parent yourself first. You need to be your own father first, because the things that he does, it's literally like he's a big 10-year-old. He is a 10-year-old in a grown man's body and just want to be grown, but don't want to be responsible for being grown. That was it for me with Casey. I no longer have any empathy for Casey because you're reckless. You're reckless. When Walter said, are you being honest with your therapist? Baby, I ain't gonna lie. I ain't really feeling him right now. But he ate with that one. I remember years ago when I was going through my own family drama and somebody was like, you know, that person needs therapy. And I was like, he's the type of person that's gonna go to the therapist and lie. And if the therapist ain't quick enough, she ain't gonna catch it. Or, you know, whoever. Therapist ain't gonna catch it. I was like, did y'all watch The Sopranos? The Sopranos was my stuff, okay? I love me some mob situations. Do y'all remember, if y'all watch Sopranos? This is so off topic. But there was an episode on The Sopranos where Tony Soprano went to his therapist. But before he went to his therapist, there was a situation where I think the people that his enemies, let's say that, his enemies ran into his daughter at a coffee shop. And she was drinking her little latte or whatever. And one of them went up to her and was being very inappropriate and was like, oh, you got some cream on your mouth or something like that. Said something like that to her, made her feel very uncomfortable, grossed out. She went home and told her mom. Her mom was mad, told the dad. Tony Soprano was like, oh, he didn't mean anything by it. I'm sorry, babe. Don't listen to him. Don't listen to him. Tony Soprano went and found old dude. Made that man eat the side of like the little, you know, like the windowsill, but it was like a brick situation. Said, open your mouth. He made him eat the thing and kicked him in the back of his head. He said, huh, kicked him in the back of his head. His teeth went scattered everywhere. He told his daughter, don't worry about it. Like, oh, it was no big deal. He went over there and he handled Buddy. Hours later, he's sitting in therapy. One of the guy's teeth is in the cuff of his pants. He looked down and saw it, and he was like, just sitting there, lying to his therapist. He tell his therapist, I just got through kicking this man's teeth out his head, and the evidence is in my pants. No, he didn't tell that lady that. That's the vibes that Casey gives. You sit up there and you talk to your therapist, and you tell things in a skewed way. Another way you avoid accountability. Because this is the thing, accountability is for you, right? You don't want to be accountable when speaking to Toya, to your mama, to your daddy, to Walter, to your Gabby, to your son, to nobody. Cool. But when you get into that therapy session, what is the point if you're going to go sit up there and lie to her? At least tell her the truth. It's a safe space. She can give you actual feedback. She can give you tools to help yourself. And you can move forward. You can unburden yourself a little bit. No, you're going to sit up there and lie into the lady face. Oh, I can't get my son. And I do for my child. I do for my child. You do for your child? You think because you give Gabby a couple of dollars here and there that that's taking care of your child? Maybe because you do more for your child than you feel your father did for you, you think that you are raising your son. You're not raising your son. You're not in his life. You one of his pen pals. You one of his homeboys. He probably talked to the dudes on the game more than he talked to you. Your son, he probably loves you unconditionally because he's a child. And children do tend to love their parents unconditionally. You're probably so big and grand in his eyes. But in a couple of more years, it may not be that way. It really may not be that way. That boy is watching his mother work her butt off to support him and take care of him. And you pop in when you feel like it. You the sneaker daddy. You come and bring some sneakers and you think you did something. I was so annoyed with that. Like once Toya dropped the bomb that he did that, I really didn't listen to nothing else Casey had to say the rest of the season because it was just like, here he go. Now, when Casey was sitting at the sibling reunion crying, I wasn't moved by that. Let me tell y'all, when they went to visit Josh and Rudy at the mausoleum, of course I was no good. I was crying. I remember when that happened, okay? This was on the heels of me losing my parents and a couple other family members. I've lost a couple of people also to gun violence. I remember exactly how I felt. I remember where I was when I saw that this had happened. I felt so bad for Toya and her family. So I promise you, every time they talk about Rudy and Josh, I feel so sad for them because it's horrible to like lose two of your kids the same. I understand why they give Miss Nita some passes. I really, really do. Because, man, that was an ordeal. I felt for them. And when they was at that mausoleum talking to them, and, you know, especially when Toya was talking to Rain, and she was like, you know, that's who I named you after. That's your Uncle Rudy and your Uncle Josh. Oh, my gosh, that sure hurts my heart. And then I'm seeing the other little siblings that was there, and their daddy and their mama. And then she was like, Reginae and Joshe couldn't come because it's too much for them. And then I remember, I think when they was on T.I. and Tiny Family Hustle, I think it was the Family Hustle show, right? Where they went to the grave, they went to the mausoleum. I think this was during the trial. And I remember Joshay and Reginae were both just sobbing. They had unraveled. And anytime I think about, like, anytime I see that, I cry. I cry because I remember what it was like when they went to the trial. I remember what it was like when we went to the trial for my dad's killer. Life is really crazy, you know? I feel for him in that moment. I really do feel for him because I do think that Casey has survivor's guilt. But again, Toya did not do that to you. You know what I mean? That's life that happened and it sucks. All of you guys are in pain. All of you guys are grieving. That's why y'all supposed to come together and be family and love on each other and help each other. And when you're not feeling good today, I got you. And when I ain't feeling my best today, you gonna have me. Like, that's how family is supposed to work. I feel for him. It's an extra added level of pain because he probably thinking if I was there, it wouldn't have happened. Or if I was there, then I would have went with them. So I wouldn't be here grieving them. I know how he feels. Like, I know the pain he feels. I know the survivor's guilt. You know, it sucks. It really sucks. So when it comes to the loss, because you were behind bars when this happened and you could have been out there with your brothers, maybe that wouldn't have happened. I understand him feeling that way. So with that, I'm going to always give all of them grace for it because they each feel hurt in a different kind of way. I give them grace for all of that. But when he was sitting at that table with all the siblings and his mama was upset with his dad and he started crying, I didn't really understand it. I think it's like, you know how little kids is growing up in a household and their mother and father are arguing and they just sitting there crying and nobody even notices them. That's kind of what it looked like with Casey. I don't think anyone really understood or noticed that he was in tears. But I was so unmoved because I feel like your emotions and your pain are so, it's surface, but it's so deep. It's like it's so easy to trigger you. But why do you always take it out on Toya? Why is it always Toya you take it out on? Why you don't go to therapy and talk about that? This is how I feel. Like, that's what you need to be in therapy talking about. Like, I'm hurt because of this. I'm hurt because of that. And let your therapist tell you what you're supposed to do. Because forcing Toya to be your emotional punching bag, and then also now trying to do this to Reginae and whoever else, you're going to get to the point where the people you love the most don't care nothing about you. You're going to get to the point where they all lose patience for you and they no longer care. And that's going to be a really sad day. The fact that it ended with him being escorted out of Toya's home, he cutting up, and Toya was like, I don't even fight with people in front of my kids. I don't argue with people in front of my kids. I don't want my kids to see this. And it was like so chaotic. They didn't really want to say what happened, what didn't happen. Toya was like, I'm about to call the police. He put his hands on my child. You know, that's family business. They didn't tell us exactly what happened. Whatever they did tell us, we just gonna have to take it as such. But it's just like, you couldn't even compose yourself long enough so that you could have this conversation with Gabby. You and Reginae was arguing about whatever y'all was arguing about. And you explode so much so that the whole reason you were even there, you were there to reconcile with your child's mother so that y'all could have some type of understanding, something better than what y'all have right now. You couldn't even just ignore Reginae. Even if Reginae said something that you didn't like, you could have just ignored what she had to say. And you're there to see your sister and your child's mother so that y'all can come to some type of resolve. And you blow up going off on your niece. But your niece is supposed to respect you. If that wasn't a sign from the good Lord above that Gabby needs to keep her child away from you, I don't know what is. If I was Gabby, I'd be like, this the man y'all want me to have my son for the weekend? He's too volatile. He's too volatile. Tragedy has already befallen, okay? Enough has already gone wrong. I wouldn't want him. Like, you broke her door? You broke her door when they were trying to tell you to leave her home? Yeah. Ain't enough love in the world. Ain't enough love in the world. At the end of the day, Toya said it the way I needed her to say it, is I gotta focus on my family, my immediate family, the people that are right here with me. That's who I need to focus on. I know Red was he was pissed off. I know he was pissed off when he came home and found this out. Well, she probably had to tell her husband before he got home. You gonna be going to Gabby's house doing that? Breaking her door down? Yeah. I'm gonna finish this on the next video because this video is already entirely too long, and the only person we really got into was Casey. So yeah, I'm gonna see y'all in a little bit. Please like, comment, and subscribe.